Stop. Research design. Call Sarah. Sarah.
This bitch done went crazy, y'all. Thinks she talking to her daddy.
I'm here. I'm using the pipes. I never believed their lies.
He's like he using the pipes.
All right, get ready. Get ready to run.
This bitch, yo, I had to show y'all this motherfucking scene, bruh. Look at this. Watch this. This bitch actually think her daddy done finna bust through the wall and shit, bruh. Look at that. She see light and everything. Look at her hand. Oh, fuck. No. Oh, God damn it.
Come on, sweetheart.
Yeah, damn.
You're almost home.
Oh, shit. Bitch, you still in the room.
Yo, greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. This is your boy, Chris B. Daniels, and you are now on Show and Talk. All right, y'all, so tonight's movie is pretty recent. It was released in 2019, but I actually seen the movie this year. That movie's called 1BR. So, originally, I really didn't care to see this movie because it was one of those, I think it was on Peacock. Peacock got some pretty good movies, don't get me wrong, but it just didn't catch my eye. You know what I'm saying? It was called 1BR, but my lady, she put me up on it, so I decided to go ahead and give it a chance. And let me tell you, I did not regret that chance. That movie is the shit. So, from what I understand, it's by the director David Marmer. This is supposedly his first movie, his directorial debut. And from the first attempt, he did a pretty damn good job. So the movie stars, what's her name? Nicole Brighton Bloom. I never really heard of her. I think she was in some other stuff. She looks familiar, but it's just one of those actresses where you might see them in something else, but then you won't recognize them till later because you saw something they starred in. You know what I mean? But so the movie is about a woman named Sarah, because we're gonna jump right into it. Like originally, sorry y'all, but originally I was going to do a spoiler free, but for me it's kind of impossible to do that because based on the story and the way the movie is laid out and everything. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in. So if you never saw the film, fair warning, this is a spoiler. Do not listen to this review. Go listen to it or go watch it. You know what I'm saying? Go watch it. But if you've seen it, stick around. And if you just don't give a shit either way, stick around. Because this review might get you to go watch it. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, the movie stars a woman named Sarah. She's an aspiring costume designer. And she moves into this complex or whatever. Now, at first, she figured, she wasn't going to get the apartment because I guess, she had financial issues or whatever, and she's trying to deal with everything by herself. But she meets this guy that stays next door to her, and he has something to do with getting her in there, I guess because he likes her or whatever. And everybody could tell that. It was so predictable, their chemistry and everything. It was a dude named Brian. So what happens is she checks into she gets her keys, everything is completed. She spends her first night in the apartment, right? And she starts hearing things because one rule of the apartment complex is that, no animals were allowed. So she decided to go ahead and bring her cat, and she's hiding it from everybody, like, you know what I'm saying? Because I guess she was afraid she was going to get kicked out if they caught her with it. So what happened was one night, the first night she was there, that's when she started hearing things, right? Like movement around the outside of her apartment, and sometimes it sounded like it was coming from the inside. So she went to go check things out because she had also befriended a lady named Miss Stanhope, which is like the oldest resident of the complex. So it was one night while she was sleeping, and then she got up to take a look out of her peephole. She seen Miss Stanhope, walking around the complex. So she goes out there to check on her to make sure she's all right. And she takes her back to her apartment. And her and Miss Stanhope, they quickly become friends and everything. And she's taking care of her, her daily doses of meds and everything to, keep her straight. So, the next day they got like this get together. It's like a party they got going on outside with all the residents. Everybody's eating and having a good time and everything. So this is one guy named Lester, right? Now, this is a strange character because it's been several different scenes where he's just standing around. Even when she first got there, you could see him from like, the other side of the complex upstairs, just staring at her. You know what I mean? Even at the party, just staring at her. And then I think she tries to talk to him and then he walks off or whatever. So after that, the next night, she goes to sleep. But this time when she wakes up, because she's hearing the noises again, this time, now I'm skipping a little bit, y'all, because I really want y'all to see this movie, man. This shit right here had me tripping, especially the notorious scene that I'm going to tell you about that's coming up, but that'll come, later. But anyway, this time she gets up and she smells something burning. And, she goes over to the oven because the oven was on. And now I'll say this scene was pretty predictable because I already knew what happened. You see this shit in a lot of movies, like a lot of horrors and things like that. She opens the oven and her cat is pretty much dead as fuck. Her cat is roasted. So she pulls it out the oven and she sees a note on the counter saying, no pets allowed. Stop being selfish. Or I think the note says something like, no pets allowed. Stop being a selfish bitch or something like that. So after that happened, that's when she opens the door, I believe, or they bust on in. The guy that she likes from next door, Brian, he busts on in. He busts into the crib, right? And he's tying her up and shit. Basically, they knock her out, and she wakes up in this room. Now, this is the part of the movie where this is where it really picks up. Because at first, when you're looking, when you're watching it and you seeing that everything is fine, everything is normal, because it's like you really don't know what to make of things or whatever at first. You don't know what's really going on. But it picks up from the time where, because it happens early. Now, I thought like this part right here is going to happen at the end of the movie because I'm trying to figure like, how do you reveal what's really going on like near the middle? You know what I'm saying? But they did a pretty good job by piecing it all together. So she wakes up in this room, right? It's like this, it looks like a nut house, but it's still the apartment. So she wakes up and then Brian, and there's this guy named Jerry that pretty much runs the whole operation from that point. Both of them bust in the room. At this point, Brian becomes a dickhead, right? So he basically tells her to put her hands against the wall in a certain position. So she has to lean her body against the wall, right? And it's like this little light on the wall right next to her. And it's lit up. And they're telling her, keep your hands on the wall until that light goes out. So she winds up leaning against the wall for hours. And this happens pretty much every day. Until one day they come in there. She's so exhausted, so tired and everything. She just didn't have the energy to do it. But they wanted her to do it. You know what I'm saying? So what happened was, since she couldn't get up and do it on her own, they picked her up. They made her get up. They put her hands against the wall. Now, this scene right here is very notorious. If y'all haven't seen this movie, this scene right here will probably compel you to go see it. You know what I'm saying? So basically, they nailed her fucking hands, both hands, to the wall. So she stuck to the wall with nails in her hand because that was like her punishment for not obeying. You know what I'm saying? So for not conforming to what they, what they wanted her to do. So there's one thing I forgot to mention, right? There's also a camera in her room. Before they put the nails in her hand and stuck her to the wall, like there was a camera where they could see everything she did. So if she took her hands off the wall before that light went out, then they was gonna come punish her. You know what I'm saying? So that was really the reason why they put the nails to her hands against the wall, because I guess, you know what I'm saying, between her not doing what she was supposed to do and then they coming in there, you know what I'm saying, she's exhausted, she can't get up. So I guess they felt like they, nailing her fucking hands to the wall was going to keep her there, guaranteed, which technically it did. But then it's like, at the same time, what the fuck was they trying to do? Like, that was, like, in my opinion, that was fucking stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's really going to make somebody conform. But then, if she didn't do it, they was going to shoot her. Basically, just kill her on the spot. So, after that, she's sitting there leaning against the wall with nails in her hands once again, y'all. Blood dripping down the walls everywhere. And so she starts hearing her, this voice in her head telling her, go ahead, escape. Like, go ahead and leave. Now, you can find this clip on my page, Let's Talk About It, on Facebook. It was uploaded by my boy, Rico Covington, a.k.a. Ricky Ruger. Shout out to your boy. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, he uploaded this particular scene where it's like this light that comes into the room and she starts to hear this voice in her head. So the voice is basically telling her to escape. And she winds up ripping her hands out of the wall. Like, you can see holes in her hands. Like, it's very graphic, you know what I'm saying? So instead of her running out the room, she winds up passing out due to blood loss. So this is when they start, they come back into the room actually later on, you know what I'm saying? And, they wrap her hands up, make sure she's all good and everything. And then she finally decides to start, basically conforming. So then they start interrogating her, asking her questions about, her, do you really want to be a part of this family or a part of this community? And at first she said she doesn't know. So they telling her, well, we got some responsibilities for you to handle and, you ready for more responsibility or whatever. So I'm just jumping ahead again, y'all. So sorry about that. But yeah, so this time she's, helping out around the community, cooking, just doing everything as the sidekick or whatever, or everything that's needed. And now we get to the scene where the oldest resident, again, which is Miss Stanhope, she's sick. Well, not sick, but she's getting older, and everybody stands around her while she's in the bed or whatever, because they know now she became useless to the community. Now, this is one thing I need to talk about for a second. So you got a cult, right? Because that's basically what that whole thing was a cult. So everybody is supposed to care for each other, right? Like, it's supposed to be a peaceful community. Nobody's supposed to be getting out of line or whatever. But when you get older, right? When you get old, like Miss Stanhope, they tell you that, you're useless. Basically, you can't help out in the community no more. You're basically useless. So they wound up killing her off because she was too old to do anything. And I was like, wow. That part like got me more than the part where the girl ripped the damn hands out the wall. You know what I'm saying? But moving on. So everybody there is like, happy because she's about to, I guess, ascend to the afterlife, except for Sarah, the main character. She's like, yo, how can y'all do this? But Miss Stanhope was with it because she knew the rules too. So after they kill her off, Sarah, she starts picking up more responsibilities, like being in the camera room or whatever, the security room. Camera room, what the hell am I talking about? But yeah, she was in the security room with Brian, and they are looking at the security cameras and everything, pretty much to the layout of the whole complex and all that, you know, different apartment buildings and everything. So Sarah notices a camera that's in the same room, the security room. And then she asks Brian, like, what's the camera for? Who's watching this from that camera? And then he tells her, you know, basically, it's none of our business. And this is another thing I had to talk about too. So, okay, this community is a community with no secrets, right? They're not supposed to keep anything from each other. So why are you not telling her who's watching you? It's supposed to be a secret-free community. So that's the part that kind of like, didn't make sense. But anyway, it was kind of obvious. I think it was Jerry watching. I could be wrong, but I think it was. Because like I said, he was running pretty much everything in that particular community. So after that, there's a scene where Sarah's back in the camera room and she sees her friend from work. Because one part I did not mention about this movie is when Sarah first came to the complex or whatever. After they started doing what they did, they took her phone and let her listen to a voicemail. It was her best friend from work. So Sarah is listening to it, and her friend basically almost got fired because of the remarks that Sarah made to her boss. Basically, because her friend told her to stand up to her boss, right? Because Sarah was kind of a pushover in the beginning. So her friend told her to stand up to this dude. But then she got upset because I guess whatever she said involved her friend too. So she cursed her out, basically said, fuck you, blah, blah, blah. So Sarah lost her job, lost her account. They took all her money, just wiped everything clean. Basically, they just destroyed her whole identity at this point. So when she's in the camera room, she sees her best friend from work, you know, looking to move in one of those apartments because it's open house. You got a bunch of people in there, but they choose her friend out of everybody. So right at this point, her friend starts talking to Brian, starts hanging out with him. They had a little party like they did with Sarah. And next thing you know, Sarah's looking at the cameras and everything. And her friend has ended up in the same situation that she did. She's waking up every night, hearing noises, you know, same process. So after that, Jerry and Brian comes to Sarah. And I guess they want her to handle her friend because unlike Sarah, this girl is fighting back. You know what I'm saying? She wasn't putting up with their shit. You know what I mean? I don't blame them. But they wanted her to go into the room because they figured that Sarah can talk some so-called sense into her, which it ain't no sense at all. But anyway, Sarah goes in there, starts talking to her, telling her that everything is fine. She's happy, knowing goddamn well she's not, right? So after this, Jerry comes into the room because apparently Sarah's not doing what she's supposed to do. So Jerry comes into the room and they're talking or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I forgot how it went down, but Jerry, let me see what happened to Jerry. I think Jerry got knocked out. I can't even remember what happened to him, but Sarah winds up turning against him. You know what I'm saying? Turning on him, and she saved her friend basically. So they're walking out the room, right? Her and Sarah, and the friend is already, kind of messed up in the situation. She's injured, and next thing you know, Jerry just comes out of nowhere, pops her friend dead in the head, shoots her in the head, basically shoots her dead. And the Sarah just charges at him and stabs him in the neck and just start, like stabbing him over and over again or whatever. So he's dead as fuck now. And she gets up and she walks out. So now at this point, the whole community is surrounding her. Oh, and before I jump to that part, there was a crazy scene where her dad shows up and he's knocking on the doors because they can see it from the security camera. So he winds up going in, he's trying to talk to Sarah, begging her for forgiveness for what he did, cheating on her mother and everything and just being a terrible parent. So Sarah's talking to him, right? And they're telling her to get rid of him. Make sure he does not come back here. So Brian pops up right behind him slowly, and he's about to take him out. But Sarah starts talking like straight shit to her father. But she's only doing it to save his life. And she can't really tell him what's going on. So he doesn't catch on to it. You know what I'm saying? And eventually he leaves out of frustration because he feel like, okay, she's really done with me at this point. But then he winds up slapping the shit out of her too. You know what I'm saying? So he does that. Sarah says what she had to say. And Brian slowly backs up into the room he came out of, right? I think it was the closet or some shit. That part was kind of funny. This nigga was ready to take him out. But he winds up going back into the closet or wherever he came out of slowly. So the dad gets upset. He leaves. But jumping back, you know, into the ending, you know what I mean? So the whole community winds up surrounding Sarah. And then the girl in the complex, I think it was Janice, the one that Sarah was helping the whole time, like cooking and doing all the stuff. You know, she comes to Sarah, basically is pissed off because Sarah killed Jerry. And Sarah winds up, you know, like smoking her ass. So she's dead now. And then Brian, the dickhead, shows up. So he's sitting there trying to talk some so-called sense into Sarah. You know, nobody wants to hurt you, blase, blase. Because his background was he was there for about 9 years after he got out of the military or whatever. So his life was a wreck until he got to that community. And I'm pretty sure he had to go through the same process. So come to find out that after Sarah killed Jerry, you know, back in the apartment, back in the apartment, she notices and this is another thing I forgot to mention, y'all. Like, this movie has so much stuff, man. I try to, you know, recap everything, but it's kind of hard because I seen it one time and I just recently see it. I had to watch a movie a couple of times to remember everything, but there was a scene where Sarah was getting branded behind the ear. So it was like this little symbol. It's on the complex too, but it's a symbol that they brand her with to show them now that she's a part of that community. So after she killed Jerry, she discovers the same symbol on the back of his ear. And she finds out that even he wasn't really running everything. The guy that was behind everything was a man named Charles D. Ellerby. Like, he was the founder of that cult that everybody was in that complex. Or pretty much, well, never mind, that complex. I'll tell y'all what happens at the end. But anyway, you know, she's questioning Brian or whatever. And Brian's telling her that nobody wants to hurt you. You know, we just want to live in peace. Everything will be fine. You know, just put the gun down. So she ain't buying his bullshit either. So she shoots the dickhead. She shoots the dick in the head. You know what I'm saying? But, and he's dead now. So then she tries to escape the whole complex. And then one of the guys in the community that she met early on, right, grabs her. And Lester is standing there. So Lester is like about to kill Sarah. And Sarah's begging him not to do it. But Lester winds up shooting the guy in the head or whatever. And Sarah escapes. And then they pull, because come to find out, Lester wasn't really this weird guy. He lost his wife and everything. So when he, you know, he really didn't want to do the things that they were doing either. But he was just playing along because he knew at that point it wasn't really no escape for him. It was nobody else there to help him. So he winds up helping her out, and then she runs outside, right? And now, this right here, she's outside in the streets, standing there. So that's when we hear a bunch of alarms go off around the whole town. And next thing you know, it come to find out that it's just not that apartment complex. That entire city is a part of that cult. Everything. You know what I'm saying? Because there's alarms that start blasting all over the city. And she starts laughing and walks off. And that's pretty much the end of the movie. That part I really didn't like, you know, particularly like, you know what I'm saying? But it was okay. Now, I gotta say, this movie is a slow burn, yo. According to what I just said, hopefully what I said will make y'all go watch the movie. You know what I'm saying? The stuff that we talked about or whatever. But like, I gotta admit, this is one of my favorite movies now. I'm gonna go back and watch it again later. But yeah, man, please check it out. 1BR. And if I gotta give this movie a grade, I would give it a 8.5 out of 10. The movie's great. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, take my word for it. 1BR. It is one hell of a movie. And there's one more thing I like to mention, y'all, about this contest, this World Rule Online Talent Show. I'm gonna give it one more week. Next Friday will be the last day because I see nobody has signed up yet. I don't know if it's out of shyness or people just hadn't got around to it yet. But like I said, inbox me. Y'all know the rules, no twerking. Otherwise, you're automatically eliminated. And the prize is probably gonna be something a little, better than the karaoke machine. But once again, congratulations to Malia for winning the last one. Malia will not be in this one, you guys. So right now, whoever the competition is, Malia will not be in since she won the last one. That's the rules. You know what I'm saying? So get your videos in, submit your videos. I meant to get with y'all on that yesterday, but I had some things to do. And to be honest with you, I forgot. But yeah. The World Rule Online Talent Show will last one more week. So hit my inbox. Let me know what you're going to do. Post it up, all right? I'm gone. I'll talk to y'all later on. Peace.